Hey comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And comic fans, you're with me, Mike Spider Slayer. That's right, fans, we're getting ready to do another comic book countdown. That's right, everybody. As Mike Spider Slayer counts down his favorite comic or his worst comic of the week, all the way down to his favorite comic of the week. So with that being said, we have 11 comics altogether that we're going to be talking about today. 10 hard copies, 1 digital book. And I'm kind of short on time, so with that being said, let's just get started with the countdown, shall we? All right, here we go. Number 11. Infinity tie-in, Guardians of the Galaxy issue number 8. Now, when you talk about a book that has great art, decent story, funny writing in it, it makes it real tolerable. When you have a book that's got really crappy art and the story has to kind of do with infinity, it makes it really for a crappy book. And I really did not like this book, in my opinion, obviously. I did not like anything about it. I did not like the artwork in this book. I did not like the colors in this book. I just found that the plot was very weak, just like Guardians of the Galaxy plots are. There's nothing that progresses the story here. I get that it's a tie-in, but it really doesn't get anything. Here we look at the artwork. This is probably pretty good, but when you get, for me, and this is my opinion, when you get into these dark colors, where it's to the point you can't make out almost certain characters on who they are, I just don't like that. It's such a drastic change from Sarah Pacelli's art into what this issue brought to us. Being that this is a tie-in, I'm hoping that this is the only, or the next issue, this is a good page, but I'm hoping that this is the only issue that really has this type of art. What this issue was about, it had to do with our heroes here having to go to the peak to go out and rescue Abigail Brand. And that's basically what the issue was about. There wasn't anything here that made me excited for an Infinity tie-in or anything like that. There was some character things in here with Rocket Raccoon about how he talks about his catchphrase and, you know, and the same things. I mean, there's nothing different. And at the end of the issue, we get to see when our heroes are kind of in trouble, we get to see, yes, once again, Angela on the last page. And this is what she looked like here. She's all red. I don't like the way this book is going right now. I understand Angela is going to be on this team, but how many times have we seen her now in so many issues where she's the focal point of the last page in this story? There's nothing driving this story forward at all anymore. I just don't feel that there's a real plot. So hopefully when Infinity's over, this moves forward. If it doesn't move forward very soon, I'm going to drop it. And I'm hoping that after the next issue, we get, you know, Sarah Pacelli back on the art. If not, if she is on in the next book. But this was horrible, and I think I gave it like a 2 out of 5. I just, not my taste of art or coloring here. So, top 10. Number 10 was X-Men, Battle of the Atom. Number 2, otherwise known as Chapter 10. I thought that this chapter, which closes out Battle of the Atom, really didn't accomplish all that much. What did we accomplish here? We accomplished that Jean Grey in the future blows herself up. Yeah, okay. We accomplished that Cyclops and Logan still basically hate each other. We've known that forever. We know that mutant kind and humankind are not always going to agree or get along with each other. Well, we know that. And, you know, and we know that the future or the past X-Men are staying. And we knew that a couple issues back when you couldn't send them back. So they're staying. And we still know that they have to go back, which was accomplished way back when. Now, I said this earlier in like the first and second issues of Chapter or Battle of the Atom that this was a book that didn't need to be a separate event. This was an issue or a series that could have been tied into the X-Men books as a story arc, not as this major event that had to come out week after week after week after week. This just could have been contained into a story. Could have maybe even, I don't know, go into a little bit more depth of what the future Brotherhood's about, what the future X-Men are about. And it just seemed like we wanted to do this event, and it started off really strong, but we didn't know really how to put it together and finish it. And so that's why this only got a 2.5 out of 5 stars for me. Very frustrating. Just didn't accomplish anything in my aspect. So there we go. And the artwork was bad in that one too. They had like 3 different artists on it. Rough. Number 9. KickAss 3, issue number 4. Yeah, KickAss was this book this week that you felt that, okay, stuff is going to happen here. But really, there's nothing that did happen. This is supposed to be the final run of KickAss, the last 6 issues or so. But we haven't seen anything progress in this series at all either. This was just a in-house civil war with the other superheroes that were in his group called Justice Forever. And we get to see a little bit more plot development between the mob and the cops that could possibly go against the mob, dressing up as costumed heroes or vigilantes or whatnot also. But there was nothing here that really progressed besides Dave and I think the girl's name Valerie's relationship. So I'm really leaving this up to the reader if you want to go and invest any more into KickAss. So I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5 stars. It just nothing really happened here. And with Hit Girl and KickAss not together, it really takes away from the series. These two are a formula that must be together to work. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So 3 out of 5 for me. Number 8. Swamp Thing Annual, issue number 2. Now this book is, annual, so it's going to be bigger as it is. However, this book, you got to be sitting down and rereading because this is a lot of dialogue in this book. But the story is quite interesting here. Where the green came from, how the green was interfered, how there's avatars from the past, and how the avatars eventually become Parliament of the Trees. And so there was a lot of great story here. A lot more than what I bargained for. So when I was reading it, I'm like, wow, I'm kind of getting a little bit overwhelmed here. But it was very interesting because you got the Cedar and you got the Swamp Thing, and they have to be separated now. They're like doing training to do battle against each other so they can see who's going to be the champion of the green, or who's going to be the new avatar. So Swamp Thing, Alec Holland goes and he meets the Lady of the Weeds, I think is her name, and she teaches her life lessons here, and she starts off like this, and she's like this little itty bitty like weed creature, but then she ends up like this very mysterious looking creature, and she gives Alec this lesson of, feel around you. It's not just you. You're not just human. The green is all around. You can be all powerful this way. And she tells stories and backstories of herself on how she survived when she was the Avatar. It's a really interesting tale. And now by the time we get to the end of this whole story, Alec Holland meets the person right before him, or the Swamp Thing right before him, and he basically has to make a decision on what he wants to do, if he wants to move forward or not, as trying to be the Avatar. So this was an interesting read. Very, very interesting. Swamp Thing is that type of title. I only read the first 2 trades. I still haven't read the 3rd trade yet. I want to read that, but I like Swamp Thing. It's interesting. It's different. It's a nice story. And is it the best comic I have ever read? No, but it is different. So if you're looking to jump on, you might want to jump on right around here, because this gives you a lot of information on who the character is. So after reading this one, I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Very interesting. Let me put this bad boy away. So next we have on our list is number 7, and that is Argus, issue number 1. This is 1 of 6. It's Forever Evil tie-in. The story has to do with Steve Trevor and his Argus people. And basically, after the crime syndicate has come along, his people have basically gotten wiped away. There's only about a dozen of them left. This story flashes back to about 6 years ago, and it goes back into the time where he meets Diana, or Wonder Woman, for the first time, which was really nice to see their relationship in here, you know, right around the time of Apocalypse or Darkseid came across. So Steve Trevor gets up to speed of what's happening, how he got, you know, he's trying to remember everything that happens and how he got to this point. Now he has to go on this mission, and he has to go out and save the president. The artwork in this book is so-so. There's times where it's inconsistent. There's multiple artists. There's times where it's not so great. And then there's other times where it is pretty good, where you get some good facial expressions in here. I'm trying to point out a really decent page. I wish it didn't have such blue colors. But there was this page here that's just really good. I love those facial expressions there by Etta, I think her name is, or whatnot. But Steve Trevor has to go on this mission. He's talked about, you know, about saving the president, and he comes across Deathstroke and Copperhead and a couple of other characters here. And Shadow Thief is another one. And let's just say something bad pretty much happens to Steve Trevor, and we get the return of a character that I did not see coming, and that is Dr. Light. So where he fits in all this, I'm not too sure, but I found this interesting. It's like the special ops in the DC universe. If you're into all that stuff, you might like this book. So I quite enjoyed it. I liked the aspect of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor. I liked the whole Obama and Steve Trevor thing, how he, you know, gets to be Argus and how Argus originated. So I really like that. It's interesting stuff. Interesting book. And I'm going to give this one a 4 stars. I really like this one. So next on the list, number 6 is, let me get to it because it is a digital copy. And this one is Saga, chapter number 15. Now I love the cover here. This is like bases off of those old school graphic novels where the people are making out, and in this actual cover stays true to what this issue really is about. It is about the relationship, about him and her, and how they're going to survive in this world. They can't keep running. She can't keep playing housewife, and this is always talked about by Marco's mother. In this issue, you get to see, you know, these reporters that are investigating what's going on with Alana and how she was part of this army and how she betrayed them. And again, you get to see the relationship between Alana and Alana's mother-in-law. And so there were some good aspects in here. Now, the end of this issue had me really in awe because the Will suffers a, let me just say, pretty much a death blow by his new, I guess, which was slave girl, which he found doing sexual acts to people. But she winds up, she's going like psycho based off of something she eats, and she winds up stabbing the Will in the neck, and he winds up falling to the floor here, and just the hallucinations continue with the stalk there, just telling her what to do. This book is really interested. I think Brian K. Vaughan writes a really nice story here with Saga. You know, I read this book digitally just because I can't afford anything and I have access to this. But this was a well-told story. There's always something here that drives you to continue to read this book, and that's why I love it. And the artwork by Fiona Staples is phenomenal as well. You know, the trades are out there, volumes 1 and 2. I'm sure 3 will be coming soon. Whenever they come out with a trade, they take a break for 2 months. But Saga is a book that you don't want to pass up. It really is a nice series, and I'm giving that issue 4 stars. Next on the list, and we are on top 5, and number 5 is Green Lantern issue number 2, or annual number 2, the continuation Lights Out. This is the conclusion to Lights Out. And I did an in-depth review on Dark Avenger Inc. if you guys wanted to check that out. And this book was really interesting. Now, this is Robert Venditti's first go at the Green Lantern universe. So this is kind of like his first event, his first seal of approval on things, and saying, you know what, I'm taking over this universe. This is kind of what I'm writing about. What do you guys think? And after reading this whole event, I thought this was good. Left you with a brand new villain, left you with, you know, answers, what's going to happen, you know, who's going to die, what's going to change in the universe, and you got a lot of, you know, conclusion after reading this story. You get to see that Carol actually has feelings for Kyle. You learn that in this particular issue. You learn that Relic, in the issue as well, has this theory that there's this reservoir from where the light is coming from. And eventually, that the reservoir is going to run dry, and then when the reservoir runs dry, the universe comes to an end. And by the time you get to the end of this issue, you find out that Relic's theory was correct, and there is a reservoir. However, the White Lantern, the chosen one, Kyle, is the one that saves the day. The entities, he had absorbed them all, was for the sole purpose to go into the reservoir and replenish that reservoir. At the same time, Relic was sucked in to the reservoir itself, as you can see here, and it looks like that he is done. But in the end, he was all happy because he found out that his theory was correct. You also get to find out that a lot of Lanterns think Kyle is dead, and Kyle doesn't die here, but his existence has to be kept in a secret. So where's that going to go? And that's interesting. And now that Oa is blown up, the Lanterns had to find a new home planet. Well, Mogo stepped up to the plate, and he's going to be the new home planet of the Green Lantern Corps. Now, is all the Green Lantern Corps up, you know, up for the challenge of, you know, being Green Lanterns because they knew that their reservoir was going to run dry eventually? I don't know. It's yet to be determined. It's going to be interesting to see where this series go. Where does the universe lie with the Green Lanterns and all the other spectrums and whatnot? But I think Venditti did a nice job here, and I think he's a good replacement for Jeff Johns. Is he a Jeff Johns? No, nobody will be a Jeff Johns. But I think he's doing a great job here. Tried to do something a little bit different, but yet kept all the elements the same. And interesting to see where this series goes from here. So I'm going to give this one a 4 stars. I definitely suggest you guys check it out and read it if you're not, you know, haven't read Green Lantern yet. So moving forward, we go on to number 4. And number 4 is Scarlet Spider issue number 23. I knew for a book like this to succeed, or for Kraven the Hunter to be in a Spider book, this book had to be good. This was a good book. This is a book that you want to read. If Scarlet Spider was great like this every issue, this book would not be canceled, folks. This is a phenomenal book. Christopher Yost is the writer. The artwork here is done by David Baldian. I think that's his name. But I dig the artwork in here. Kraven the Hunter just basically is just evil looking. Scarlet Spider looks nice. You know, it has that Spider-Man feel to it, that little darkness in the colors in the actual issue. And you can see the suspense and the action that happens in this actual issue. And you're quickly turning pages to find out what's going to happen here. And one of the biggest outcomes that happens is that, excuse me, is that Kane loses somebody close to him. And you see this right here. Anna Kravinoff winds up slicing Donald's stomach open, and his intestines are just falling out on the floor, and he has to make a decision on what to do. And Kraven wants nothing more but to die, and he wants to die by the hands of the Scarlet Spider. It's just what he is, and out of anger, you get to see that Scarlet Spider does do that. But in the end, Scarlet's not going to have any of that. He brings him back to life, It was just such a great issue, and we can see that the other, not Donald, but Wally Layton is just aggravated by the whole thing, and he's doing research on Kane right now, and he sees that Kane is a criminal, and he gets to see Kane like this. This was a great issue, guys. A nice conclusion so far to this series. This is what makes you hate a series go away, is stories like this. I highly suggest reading this story arc. It was the last issue that started, I think, issue 22. This one's really good, and hopefully issue 24 closes off the series nicely with Craven or whatnot. But you can just see everything crumbling around Kane. And then we all know where Kane's going to go after this. He's going to go to the New Warriors. How he fits in with that team, I am not sure, because Kane is not that type of person. So I'm not sure how he's going to fit into a team book. But read this one. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5. This is a really good book this week, guys. So, top 3. Number 3. Ultimate Comics Cataclysm 0.1. I did a in-depth review on this on Dark Avenger Inc. If you guys want to see that. I will be covering this event on Dark Avenger Inc. as well. So anything that I read from Cataclysm will be over on Dark Avenger Inc. because we do cover, you know, some of the events on there as well. So this series here, this has to do with Vision. And, you know, when I first opened up the book and I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, what are we getting into here? Kinky robot sex? But that's not what this is about at all. This is a really interesting book. This just explains to you what Vision really is. And she was a robot, you know, that had programming. She can't learn. She doesn't, you know, she doesn't have feelings, and she doesn't want to admit that she has feelings. And she's out to save the world. And, you know, she is with Falcon in this particular issue. That's her, you know, closest partner or whatnot. And in this issue, you get to see her do research about what happened to Galactus, the Swarm, and she goes into telling a story of what the other universe is, which is 616 universe. She talks about Galactus, she talks about Silver Surfer, Reed Richards, how we're really lucky to, how 616 universe is really lucky to have him. And then she comes across Galactus because it is her job to stop any threats coming to this universe. And in the end, we get to see Galactus make his appearance, one of my favorite pages on here, just because you can see the gargantuan size of Galactus, and you get to see Vision here on how tiny she is. Now, she's the size of a normal human being, so you get to see that difference, and I really love that here. But she goes at all costs to try to stop him, and we see that. And she, you know, uses powers. She uses all kinds of things, some antimatter stuff. Doesn't work. He just basically just flings her off like a fly, breaks her into pieces, and in the end, she makes her last transmission to Falcon, and she explains to him how much she really does love him, which was a nice story. And, you know, he's getting that transmission. But in the end, her final words are Reed Richards, Reed Richards, Reed Richards, before she goes into numeric code as her speech. This was a fun issue. I really did not expect it to be this good. So that's why I got the top 3 this week. On my list. I thought it was a great issue. It told a great story, had decent artwork on here, and I'm giving this one a 4.5 out of 5 as well. Fun read, guys. Check this one out. This is something that you might want to read for the Ultimate Universe. Number 2 is Superior Spider-Man issue number 20. Now, this book was really cool. I enjoyed it. You know, a lot of you guys know my passion for Spider-Man. And you saw in my past reviews how I've done a couple rants with Spider-Man 2099 and some writing. Yes, Dan Slott's writing may be inconsistent. He may do things wrong at times. He may do things that I don't agree with. Do I want Peter Parker back? Yes, I want Peter Parker back more than anybody in the world. However, I need a Spider-Man in my life. And I keep a very open mind to the Superior Spider-Man series. I know it's not going to be Peter Parker. I know it. So I have to take into consideration what we have presented into us right now. And I thought this story was told nicely. Um, in this issue, we get to see flashbacks of Superior Spider-Man. And, you know, anything that hints me towards Peter Parker coming back, I get excited for. So I got excited for the beginning of this issue because we get to see this mysterious character come around. And I'm like, who is that person? And, you know, you see the flashbacks of Madam Web or whatnot. And in this issue, you get a few pages here. You get about 4 pages of Black Cat that returns that really hit home to a hardcore Spider-Man fan when it comes to Black Cat. And you get to see Superior punch Black Cat in the face. And it's like, oh, damn, yo. And she's just like, I'll never forget this, Spider. So it's just ridiculous because they don't have that relationship. He looks at her as a bad guy, but Peter and Felicia are really close. They kind of have a my eyes are blind type of thing. You know, he looks the other way when it comes to Felicia Hardy. So, really interesting aspect here. We find that Peter Parker wants to get his new business going, or his Peter Parker Industries. He's using his own money or whatnot. We get to see Carly Cooper get in touch with Mary Jane, saying that she has something important that she has to tell her. And it's like Mary Jane is moving forward. She met this firefighter once before and she fell flat on her ass. Well, she wants to meet this same firefighter and she falls flat on her ass again. She's exploring other relationships, it looks like, in the issue. And then as Superior winds up going and presenting his thesis, we get to see him, his professor winds up going, this is from my colleague, Dr. Octopus. This is all his work. You took it all. He's like, I'm going to ruin you, Peter Parker. And it's like, oh my God, you got Otto Octavius experiencing Parker luck, which I thought was interesting. And then by the end of the issue, you get to see another character that Dan Slott seems to be trending on this series, is bringing back characters from the 90s. We get to see that with Cardiac. We get to see that with Stunner. You get to see that with Spider-Man 2099. He's a character from the 90s as well. So he's bringing back a lot of elements of the 90s when it comes to this book. Now, a lot of fans may not be comic fans are not particularly keen on this. However, I think it's great because these characters have been lost and you haven't seen them for years and years. They still exist in the Marvel Universe. Bring them back, you know. As long as the writing's decent and the story's okay, you know, it's okay. However, the Stunner is a character where you get left with a cliffhanger that you're like, am I going to be really invested in the next story? I don't know. So that's why this didn't get the #1 knock on my list this week. Now, there's a lot of comics this week that were good, but they didn't just like blow me away good. So this was solid, and I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I almost gave it a 4, but I love that Black Cat scene. That scene makes the book for me. I love Black Cat. She's my favorite, like, super heroine. All right, next. My #1 book of the week, and it has to be Damian, Son of Batman, issue 1 of 4. This is a miniseries, an elsewhere story that has to do with Damian, the Son of Batman. And it's great to see Damian, Son of Batman. And this is written by Andy Kubert. And the artwork is done by Andy Kubert as well. Artwork is solid here. I really love the way this book was drawn. Love this page right here. And, you know, there's explosions and there's death. And, you know, you get to see that here too. And it's just a fantastic book to look at. The next thing that a lot of people have been pointing out, I said this in my review, I did an in-depth review here, was that the pages are paper. Dude, I love it. You know, why is it $3.99 still for paper pages? I don't know. Maybe because of the glossy cover. But I like the paper pages. It has more of that real comic goodness that we all loved and enjoyed when we, you know, grew up reading comics, you know, back in the early 2000s or 90s or whatnot, and 80s. I liked it. But this story has to do with Damian, and things are reversed here. Instead of Damian being dead, Batman dies, and you get to see Damian deal with his father's death, and basically he's out for revenge in killing everybody. Where Batman would do everybody in jail, and all the supervillains would come back, and it was really interesting for him to see everything that happens in this issue. Actually, he goes up to his grandfather, and he goes up to Talia, and they can't help him. And he just, again, goes on this killing spree. Goes on social networking sites to find out who's bragging about, them possibly killing Batman or whatnot. And it was fun. It was a fun read. He goes to a priest. He tries to, confess his sins about death. And it doesn't work. And then when he's going to go to the Joker, at the end of the issue, you come across Bruce Wayne. And I'm like, dude, Bruce is here? So I'm like, was this a test? Is this a clone? Is this an imagination thing? Is a Scarecrow putting something on him? Like, I'm not sure what this is all about. Now, this was the reason why I didn't give it a 5 stars, was because I didn't want Bruce to come back. I just wanted to see Damian do what he has to do. Take the helm, be the next Batman, because that's what Talia and Ghul said. The Ghul said you got to be the next Batman. You're next in line for that. And I did not want Bruce to come back. Just leave Bruce out of it for a couple issues. Maybe bring him back in the 4th issue or whatnot. So that's why it just not get the 5-star nod from me. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. However, it was like the most entertaining book I read, because it was that Elsewhere story. It's good to see Damian in that role, starring his own book. And people probably miss him because, we haven't seen him in a while since his death. And but I liked it. So again, 4.5 out of 5 stars, and this got my favorite book of the week. So guys, there you have it. There is the countdown for the week. You saw the worst, you saw the best, and leave your comments below on what your favorite comics of the were, what your worst comics of the were. And guys, until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off, and thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Bye.